Look at the flexibility of this giant lizard. I didn't ever think I'd say that, Tony. A giant lizard. Salty old JR taking the piss out of something he doesn't like. What isn't there to enjoy about that? I'm John Recton with my review of AEW Dynamite from South Carolina University, home of the Gamecocks. Big Gamecock energy throughout this entire show. Very, very raucous crowd. Some pretty good wrestling. And more displays of Tony Khan having no self-control when it comes to pretty much putting the same goddamn thing in multiple segments throughout the show. It's like if you took Russo's ideas and WCW at its peak and just decided to human centipede those things together just without the big ratings. That being said, really, really big crowd energy, big Gamecock energy as it were. I'm not putting that for the title because I would probably get flagged. But let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. I do like how energetic the crowd was. I'm going to put that over multiple times because I will say this much about AEW shows. Even if the shows at times, like whether it's Rampage, even though Rampage is often taped, so there's crowd sweetening because the crowd is really goddamn tired because you have Dark Elevation, you have Dynamite, and then you have Rampage. If they ever do a live Rampage, there's a really, really raucous feel to it. And Dynamite, like 90% of the time, especially, before the pandemic and since they've gotten crowds back, have just, the crowd really just adds so much to it. They want to cheer for it. They will boo what they hate. And they will just have the most raucous feel to them most of the time. Sure, there are times that the crowds are a little bit muted, but you can only keep up that crowd energy for so goddamn long. You think CM Punk is over? I think he is. And Max Caster gets in a few lines with his rap. I'm like Will Smith, I'll slap you when you're smiling. You look like you've done more rocks than Hunter Biden. Oh. Now that was good. See, that's funny. I don't care what side of the political fence you're on. Unless, I'll talk about that here in a bit, but that's funny. Playing both sides, having some fun, that's the whole point. People can say it's controversial. Sure, okay, it's controversial. Is it mean-spirited? Sure. I laughed. Of course I did. And he says, you say you're the voice of the voiceless. The ladies say you're the voice of the voiceless. And, talking, I think his final line, it's like, I'll have you crapping your pants like I'm a Z-Pack. That's good. That was some good stuff. Now, we have CM Punk against Max Caster with Anthony Bowens, who's apparently out with a knee injury. Hopefully he's going to be all right because Bowens has had a couple injuries where Caster has had to, be on his own. And there was some good stuff here. Like, Punk gave Caster a lot, but he was always in control. He did let Caster, target his ribs, beat him up and everything. Punk took the Bret Hart buckle bump. This wasn't a bad showing for Caster as far as an opener and as far as, being in a singles contest. And Punk does come back after doing the inside out over the ropes and then off the ropes. That was really, really good stuff. Bowens does interfere. We do get a coast-to-coast leg drop just for two. And the missed mic drop. Then you get the pile driver. And then the vice. And Punk gets a tap-out win. And JR calls the pile driver the tombstone, despite the fact it was a normal pile driver. But that's okay. JR was about 5 drinks in by this point. And there you go. So, CM Punk gets the victory. Shivani interviews him. What did you mean by this? What do you mean? Come on, Shivani, you've been around long enough. I want the title, whether it's Adam Cole, baby, or whether I'm going to be looking down the barrel of some cowboy shit. But before the end of my time here in AEW, I'm going to have more gray in my beard. I'm going to have more scars. But by the time my, time in AEW is over, I will be AEW World Champion. Good stuff. Good start to the show. And then we have Marvez with MJF and FTR. And Mark Sterling's putting up Wardlow posters. No, don't let this guy in. Please don't let this guy in. Please. I know he's big and could throw people around. Stop thinking about it. You know who you are. But no way Wardlow's going to get in. He's banned because MJF's paying him to stay at home. He doesn't exist. We're going to start winning. FTR says, well, you're our friend, Max, but Wardlow's also our friend. And MJF says, well, you're not just my friends, you're my family, but I do want to let you know Wardlow's been talking shit about you behind your back. They don't believe that, and they don't want to get in on the hand thing. So obviously we're going to break up the Pinnacle, which, to be perfectly honest, I actually forget is actually a stable. It was a good idea, but they've just done nothing to follow up on it. And anytime they do, they remind us of a group. Oh yeah, this is also a group that allows Sean Spears to get TV time. So anyway, Wild thing, you make the Gamecocks sing. And it's Jon Moxley versus Jay Lethal. In a match that was very well wrestled. Very good back and forth stuff. Jay Lethal can work. I just don't give a shit about Jay Lethal. If you take all the allegation stuff, put it to the side. True or not. I just have no reason to really care about Jay Lethal besides him being a really good pro wrestler. I liked him in TNA and felt he was very underutilized. And I saw enough of his stuff in Ring of Honor, but he just feels out of place here. He's just a very good pro wrestler in a company that has two sides to the wrestling coin. They have really good stuff, and they have really bad comedy that would belong on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. And I'm sticking to that, and people can get upset if they want. Hell, it belong on NXT 2.0 with how bad some of this comedy is. It just because one company does comedy and it's not under the evil empire doesn't mean it's good comedy. So, good stuff though. Nice wrestling. We get a forearm battle. Boom, 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 boom. You know, they're doing all that. Lethal does a dive. Mox sells his knee. I hope he's okay because he was limping on that for quite a while. I think he's all right. Big old lariat to a pop. We get, the lethal combination. I remember when he used to use that for a finisher, like Bound for Glory 2007. We're coming up on 15 years of that event. And Paradigm got stopped because Mox couldn't hit it because of his knee. We do get a elbow for two. We get to go in for the figure four. But nope, Paradigm shift. 1, 2, 3. Jon Moxley gets the victory. A handshake? Yes, because Mox slapped his hand away to start the match. We get a handshake. Lethal joining this Blackpool Combat Club wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But I have a feeling if Tony's going to run Ring of Honor as a separate entity, they're probably just going to do something like that. But I am curious, just a little sidebar here. What do you think the future of Ring of Honor is going to be after Supercard of Honor? Do you think this is going to be it and they're just going to absorb the library for a possible streaming service? Do you think they're going to run it weekly? Because I don't know what they're going to be able to do and what audience they're going to be able to draw. Also, if Tony's booking all those shows, he's going to lean a lot more of the Herb Abrams, powder diet, if you know what I mean. So, good stuff so far. Video package on Marina Shafir. Yes, she is signed by AEW. She's also been featured on Dark and Dark Elevation. She's not bad in the ring. She certainly could have gotten any worse than she was in WWE, being one of Shayna Baszler's goons. I like Shayna Baszler. It just wasn't the best way to use her. The FTR's theme is great. They have the Scott Hall tribute gear. Very, very nice stuff. MJF joins commentary, and he says it's not where's Waldo, it's where's Wardlow. Boy, totally screwed that up. FTR versus the Gun Club. Ass Boys Chance and the Guns are trying. They're just not very good. Like, they're young and they're inexperienced, and even though they've been gaining experience on Dark and Dark Elevation, and they had that brief program with Darby and Sting, it's not working as well as they think. Like, Billy's kids may be better. Colton and Austin, they may be better in a couple years. I don't know. This match went a bit long, but it wasn't bad. Like, FTR were the de facto faces. They were just great to watch in the ring. Billy kept getting involved. And eventually, we cut away. While MJF keeps doing the heel commentary, we get, a very close near fall. And then suddenly we cut to Wardlow hurling security and then hurling a guy onto a table where it goes, I am the table. Ouch. That table didn't break. I think a vertebrae in that guy's back broke. I hope not, but that looked really painful. That table was like, no, I will not collapse. And then more security gets him before he can get to MJF, but he gets into the arena so the crowd can really react. And then he keeps calling him the greedy little pig and all that, the little piggy and all that, and he keeps doing that. Meanwhile, the match actually resumes. The match was going on still at this point. And I get why they did it this way, but the way they did it was a little bit messy. We get the big rig eventually, 1, 2, 3, and FTR gets a victory, but they are pissed at MJF, like, what the hell's that? We told you we're friends with you, but he's also our boy, like, why are you doing this? Alright, FTR chance, because they want FTR to go full-fledged babyface, and to be perfectly honest, FTR are faces anyway, because, well, if they're going to battle the Young Bucks and actually put up with their bullshit, they're the de facto faces. Hobbs and Lee are going to have a main event match on Rampage. Already. Okay. They really got to trim some people. They really do. Good video package. Hobbs and Lee will have a good powerhouse battle. I want to say quickly, and I may do the video on this at some point, but AEW has decided to let some contracts expire and maybe do pay-per-appearance deals or stuff like that. Like Avalon's gone. Janela's gone. No offense either, and them no big loss. Marco Stunt, his contract's not going to be renewed. He should have never been given a big money contract in the first place. I think Khan's realizing, hey, citing budget cuts, so if I'm going to knock WWE, I can knock AEW, but in all seriousness, I don't think that losing these they shouldn't have been signed to big money contracts in the first place. I'm not against people getting money, but for a mainstream wrestling company, was Avalon necessary? And the librarian stuff wasn't very good. Janela really didn't mean anything by I would say within a month or two of their television program, and was just stuck on Dark and Dark Elevation, and maybe had like 2 matches on Dynamite. Like I can't actually name the last match he had on Dynamite. And then Marco Stunt had no business ever being in wrestling. That's it. Again, maybe I'll do a video on it at some point. Maybe if anyone watching knows the list of people that have been released or their contracts aren't being renewed by AEW, comment it, and maybe I'll do a video on it at some point. Because if I'm going to do it for WWE, I'll do it for AEW. Anyway, the Huge Ass Society is backstage. And yeah, Jericho Appreciation Society, not the best nickname, but whatever. Jericho looks ridiculous, but at least he looks in better shape. They're like, hey, where the hell is Eddie and Santana Ortiz? He tries to GFY. We know what lettering you want to use, Jericho, you goddamn ingrate. You goddamn democracy-hating idiot. But there's so much insider talk, future endeavor, and all this stuff, and this isn't working at all. This is not working. This is not good. Eddie and Santana Ortiz attack, and Santana Ortiz basically pair off with, they beat up a couple of the guys and then target 2.0. Eddie targets Jericho, hits a spinning back fist when they get to the ring. Loud Eddie chants. And then the numbers game eventually catches up with them. More on that here in a bit, because Hager is rotten. Just absolutely rotten. He's a fine athlete, but he just is so blank. He should not have his contract renewed. When it comes, if he got signed in like September or October of 2019, just don't have him back. Don't have him back after later this year. He doesn't need to be there. He adds nothing. I can't imagine that the money they've invested in him has really meant anything. And Kingston got whipped with Jericho's belt. So we're probably going to get a belt. We're probably going to get a strap match at some point. Or a belt on a pole. Shivani is with Mark Sterling and Jade. And Sterling has an idea for Jade's 30th match. It's Leva Bates, who I forgot is still an active competitor in the company. I know she works backstage with them. But no, it's not going to be them. It's going to be Marina Shafir. And then Jade says she's going to have her baddie section, whatever the fuck that is, at ringside, and tells Tony to cut the shit. So they did. They cut out this segment involving Jade. I know it sounds like a mean-spirited towards Jade. She has the look, and that's fucking it. That's it. I can't ignore what I see. I'm not saying that she's the worst wrestler I've seen. I'm definitely not saying she's a terrible person. But this whole TBS championship thing was a good idea, and now it's pretty much in the fucking toilet because it's on somebody inexperienced. So anyway, Regal joins commentary. Man with a mask, how on earth are you this week? I don't know why that made me laugh. Bryan Danielson versus Wheeler Yuta. The crowd was on Wheeler Yuta's side for some reason. I'm not against Wheeler Yuta getting featured in a more serious role, because seriously, him being part of the Best Friends has just been ridiculous. Bryan is having a blast. Regal is great in this role. He's putting over Bryan, but he's also putting over the fire of Wheeler Yuta. Bryan gave Yuta a lot, but was always in it, at least for the most part. Shivani was back on commentary after the break. Yuta got some strikes, and the crowd was really getting with some of these near falls and some of these moments. And Wheeler did eventually get hit with the Busaiku knee or whatever the hell it is. But then Bryan's like looking down at him, about to kick his face, and he gets the biggest glob of spit this side of like what Brett did at the Montreal Screwjob and spit it in Bryan's face. And then Bryan kicks his face and fish hooks and cross faces him, gets the victory. And that was good. Very, very good stuff. That was really, really enjoyable. Bryan having a goddamn blast. Wheeler got a chance to be featured. And hey, maybe they could wipe the shit off of him that came from being part of the Best Friends. Stop letting Andrade talk. Please. Please, for the love of God, stop letting him talk. Cole and the Red Dragon have a championship celebration because they have tape over the names of the heavyweight and tag team championships. They have a box of 5 balloons. They call themselves the Undisputed Elite. This was rotten. Not that the Undisputed Era was the greatest thing ever, and they were good in Ring of Honor. They were actually really good in Ring of Honor. And despite WWE creative and everything, they were as good as they could have been in, WWE and NXT specifically. Now they're left to their own devices, allowed to basically just act like whiny little whatever. And I know they're supposed to be heels. O'Reilly is not the best talker. Fish, when he was in school, they didn't have history. His social security number is 1. Hangman shows up in a Tesla with horns on it. We get cowboy shit chants, and the Jurassic Cage Express shows up. And didn't we just do this with Eddie Santana Ortiz and the Jazz Society? Didn't we just do this? Yeah, we did. More self-control. Lacking on Tony Khan's part. And then look at the flexibility of this giant lizard. I didn't think I'd ever say that, Tony. A giant lizard, JR. Whatever. They get their titles back. Thunder Rosa, she's so well-spoken and great for wrestling. She will be the foundation for this company, and she wants to take down Nyla. Or do you need to have Vicky dumb down things for you, Nyla? Use your own words. FTR takes us seriously, professional wrestling that is. FTR versus Young Bucks 2, do you accept? The Money makes our entrance, and we have Jade Cargill's baddie section. Okay, I don't know what the fuck a baddie is, I don't really care. Toni Storm comes out to a huge pop, and I am thrilled for Toni Storm. One, she's going to make a ton of money doing her OnlyFans thing. How the hell could somebody like Toni not make a ton of money doing that? I met Toni Storm. It was about 4 years ago, but Toni Storm couldn't have been nicer, and I'm so happy for her success. And I don't blame her for not wanting to be part of WWE. She probably wants to do her own thing and be part of AEW, and she can make her shots and do this stuff, and she's a big boost to the women's division. So it's her versus the Money in an Owen Hart qualifier. This match should have gone 2 to 3 minutes because the Bunny looks good and the Bunny has some decent personality. The Bunny is not a very good professional wrestler, despite the fact she's been wrestling for however long. Toni should have beat her flat. She got him way too much offense. Storm 0, 1, 2, 3. I really hope they feature Toni a little bit better than that. But she did get a big pop. Shivani interviews Vicky and Nyla does not need Vicky, is what I wrote down. Owen Hart tournament qualifiers continue next week. We get Butcher and Blade versus the Hardys in a tables match next week, where Jeff's probably going to land flush on somebody doing the Swanton that he shouldn't be doing in 2022. Rampage is the Bucks versus Top Flight. House of Black versus Del Sol. Uno and Grayson, I believe, of the Dark Order. We hear from Scorpio, Paige Van Zandt, and Dan Lambert, the sheepish lion Dan Lambert. Jamie Hayter versus Scorpio Sky in a qualifier match. Perfectly fine during that match. How dare you accuse that I won't be? Otherwise, Statlander speaks. Haas versus Lee. Darby with Sting, or Stink as Andrade says, versus Andrade El Olio with G.I. Jose. This feud is still going, is what I wrote down. Andrade attacks Darby with a dive and beats him up around ringside, drops him on the steps, does a whole bunch of stuff and everything. Darby even uses a skateboard. All this happening, we get about 7 minutes of action before the bell. And then, cool. By the way, Sting and Jose actually go backstage, so whatever, it is what it is. To do a run-in later, obviously. Darby, gets plenty of love from the crowd. We get a slap fight. Bitch smack, bitch smack. And then, of course, Sting attacks Jose when he tries to do a run-in. Butcher and Blade attack Sting because in the Crockett Stronghold, Sting must get laid out. And then Darby dives on him. Hammerlock DDT, 1, 2, 3. Oh boy, more stuff. With like a numbers game advantage. Do we have to have this every time? You've got the numbers advantage, we get it. JR just taking the piss out of something again, because I don't blame him. Third time they've done this on this show. Now the Hardys run down, and next week, we'll see you next week for the Royal Rumble. Oh, I'm kidding. It's just a big old fracas and whatever. That being said, the show wasn't all that bad. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.